This episode is exclusively sponsored by CanWe. Get clear on what you and your date are looking for faster. CanWe is your expert guide on your dating journey. Check out the CanWe app in Apple's App Store or on Google Play. Hi there, I'm Vincent Boss and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing want your ex back? Then listen. I provide audio coaching to help people try and get their ex back or get a new girlfriend or boyfriend. Check out my website for more details. www.dateme.tips. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. So now let's get back into today's podcast, and today we are discussing want your ex back? Then listen. So if you have clicked today's podcast, if you have read the title and decided, look, I want to listen to this, then this clearly means that you want your ex back. But how much do you want them back? In today's podcast, I'm going to give you 3 things to consider when wanting to try and get your ex back. So let's get straight into this. And number 1 is don't crave a fantasy. So sometimes people who have been dumped want their ex back and create a fantasy of what their ex was actually like. Now, this might be for differing reasons. Possibly you was together a very long time and you were focusing on what your ex was like when you first got together. Or maybe you haven't even been together long and you were just inventing a better version of your ex than the reality actually showcased. This is often because we have to understand that there is nothing more attractive than rejection. So if and when you were dumped, you would then see your ex in the brightest light. You will feel attraction 10 times as powerful as before they rejected you. In some instances, you might have even been considering ending the relationship yourself, but your ex beat you to the punch. Your ex beat you to that decision to end the relationship, and now you're thinking to yourself, well, I didn't even want this relationship to end. Well, you need to get back to reality and don't crave a fantasy. If you and your ex were together for a fairly long period of time, and in the beginning things were wonderful, you need to remember what were things like just before the breakup took place. I don't mean the last couple of days. I mean, look back at the last few weeks, last few months. What were things like? Be honest with yourself. Be genuine. Was everything great? Often you will see dumpees saying that they got dumped out of the blue and they never expected it. But if you were to look clearly, was there cracks? If you were to look in a genuine way, were there problems? Were you reacting to each other in a positive way? Or were there disagreements? Were there problems? Were there arguments? Were there instances where it seemed you were better apart than together? Sometimes a dumpee might say to themselves, look, everything was fantastic. We just need to change a few things. We just need to make a few tweaks. Now, these things might seem fairly simple in your mind, but in your ex's mind, they might be huge. You might be thinking, I just want to tweak a few things about my ex. I want them to go back to how they were a few years ago, or maybe they was never this way. And you think, I would just like them to be a little bit different. Now, to you, these are small differences, but to your ex, they could be huge personality traits. They could be who they actually are, and they don't want to change. And these little tweaks that you see will stop the arguments might be things that your ex is thinking, look, I don't want to change those things. They are me, and this is why we are having arguments, because you're trying to change me. People can only change if they want to. This goes for you, as well as your ex, as well as for anybody. You can't force somebody to change. You can't make somebody change who doesn't want to. And hence, if you aren't liking your ex in the way that they ended up, if you don't like your ex in the way that you last remember them, then you can't expect them to change unless they want to. Now, if and when they contact you again, you will be able to judge for yourself whether they have changed. This is up to them, and then it is up to you if you want to reconnect. And vice versa, if your ex contacts you and is hoping you have changed in some regard, this is down to you. If you haven't changed, this is up to you. But then they have the decision if they want to be with you. So please look at the situation clearly and don't crave a fantasy. Sometimes we paint a picture which was a lot happier, a lot brighter, and a lot better working than it actually was. Don't confuse a few years ago with the last few weeks and months, because that is how you are now. People are always growing. You might have been a fantastic connection a few years ago, but unfortunately, you've grown apart, you've grown in different directions, and the relationship was ended because your ex couldn't see you working together at this time. This doesn't mean you can't reconnect again in the future, but if you have grown apart, you've got to understand that doesn't necessarily mean you work as well now as you once did in the past. Always remember, judge things on today and not yesterday. Don't crave a ghost and don't crave a fantasy. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast about want your ex back, then listen. And point number 2 is success rarely comes easy. Success generally takes a lot of hard work and a lot of effort. This doesn't mean that in this instance you need to be chasing your ex to try to get success, to try to get them back. But what it does mean is that you'll have to be working hard in ways you probably didn't necessarily expect. So in this instance, we are trying to get our ex back, but that doesn't mean you're chasing them. In fact, very, very much the opposite. You have to move forward with your own life, and that can seem harder than actually trying to reconnect by chasing, begging, pleading. This is a harder task. It is a harder task to walk away and never look back than to chase somebody. And hence you need to do the hard, tough things. You need to do the things which are challenging, because that is your only opportunity of success. If you were dumped, then your ex sees you as a low-value individual. And if you chase them, if you try to overly reason with them, if you beg, if you plead, this is going to make you look desperate. This is going to make you look even lower value. And you need to do the opposite. You need to look high value. And you look high value by moving forward with your life, living a life of a positive person, making new connections, improving yourself every single day, being a better person today than you were yesterday, a better person tomorrow than you are currently today, and becoming a version 2.0 of yourself. If and when your ex wants to speak with you, this is when this will really be showcased that you have improved. So success rarely comes easy. It's very, very rare that you will find somebody who has been dumped, who their ex contacts them just a couple of days later, and everything gets sorted out. Often, you're in it for the long haul. Often, a dumper won't contact their dumpee for 6 months or more. And often, the dumpee will be going through the grind, questioning every single thing about themselves for a very long time. This is where the challenge is found. The challenge isn't found in trying to chase your ex. The challenge is found in making sure you don't chase your ex. Now look, there is no guarantee you can get your ex back. There is no guarantee that your ex will one day in the future contact you. But you must realise that your only chance of success is going to be by moving forward on your own path and making new connections. It might sound counterintuitive, but the best chance of getting your ex back is to actually date new people, refine your dating skills, become more confident, become a better person, and become more attractive, because you are clearly a dateable option if you're dating somebody new. You may even find somebody better than your ex sooner than you could ever have imagined, and hence, moving forward, making new connections is the only way forward. But this means that success rarely comes easy. It is a challenge, and you must understand that things are unlikely to be a walk in the park. They are unlikely to be easy. Prepare yourself for the long haul, because even though I believe you will find happiness in the future, it won't necessarily come tomorrow, next week, or next month. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast about want your ex back, then listen. And point number 3 is with or without your ex, you will have a positive future. There is no 100% guaranteed way to be able to get your ex back. There is no paint by numbers advice which will definitely get you success. You have to understand that there is a chance that you will never hear from your ex again. But here's the good thing: you will be fine, you will be wonderful, and you will live a fantastic life whatever happens. Please don't be fearful, please don't be scared, please don't feel that this is your only chance of happiness. If you don't get your ex back, then you can find somebody even better. And even though you probably don't believe this right now, it is certainly the truth. If you move forward in a positive way, if you go through self-improvement, if you become a better person tomorrow than you are currently today, then you will be able to attract more people, better people, because you will have a larger attraction net than when you first attracted your ex. And hence, you will be able to attract a greater number of people. So I always say, with or without your ex, you'll have a positive future. And that is the truth. Just because you can't get your ex back every single time, it doesn't mean you can't have a satisfying, fulfilling, wonderful, exciting future. Don't feel trapped in this dark, bleak tunnel that you'll find yourself in right now. Keep moving forward. The only way to escape a dark, bleak tunnel is to keep moving forward, and eventually you will walk out the other side into the light of happiness. If you stand still, if you sit down, if you bury your head in your hands and refuse to move forward, then you will be stuck in this troublesome tunnel for longer. So please move forward with positivity. Don't be scared, and realize that even though I can't guarantee you'll get your ex back, I can guarantee that if you do everything right, you will find happiness again. Might it be with your ex? Yes, it could be. I know of many, many people who get their ex back, but I also know of many, many people who don't get their ex back, but find happiness with new people. So, move forward with positivity. Don't be fearful. If you get your ex back, then fantastic. If you don't get your ex back, then you will still be fine. And who knows, you might be in the position where both eventually happen to you. You might date somebody new, have a great, fantastic new relationship with them, and then 2 years down the line, you hear from your ex, and you have a decision to make. And in that instance, I would suggest that you stick with your current relationship, but imagine that situation. Imagine that you hear from your ex again in the distant future, and you have the choice. I'm sure you'll be happy to consider that possibility. Just because you don't hear from your ex tomorrow doesn't mean you'll never hear from them again, because we never know when the story ends. And I know of many people who have heard from their exes many years into the future. This doesn't mean you should wait for them, because we can't guarantee this. You should never clock watch, you should never stand still. But please always realise that you never know when you might hear from your ex again, and you never know what the future holds. With or without your ex, you will have a positive future. If you believe that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description.
Yeah, if you miss your ex, we can help with that. Help you get him back, or we can help find you someone else. Yeah, Vincent Bo, the relationship coach, giving you some insight, bringing you a new approach. DateMe.tips, go and check the site, giving you advice, helping with your love life. Get your ex back, or move to the next. Ain't no sweat, you know Vincent Bo got you. Finding love ain't no problem. Yeah, DateMe.tips, check it out now.